Imagine a night sky draped in darkness, a giant ship slicing through icy waters, and the silent ticking of time leading to an earth-shattering catastrophe. The Titanic remains an eternal symbol of human ambition and tragic flaws, but beneath the layers of movies and myths are untold stories. From the ship's unsung heroes and missed opportunities to its lingering impacts, let's dive deep into what really happened on that fateful night and the years that followed. This particular iceberg, which broke off and turned fatal, was 400 feet long and weighed 2 megatons. The Titanic stood no chance against this iceberg. After its sinking, the Titanic's exact location remained unknown for over 70 years. It was finally discovered in 1985 by a team led by Dr. Robert Ballard at a depth of about 12,500 feet. Picture a high-pressure kitchen during dinner rush, but instead of chefs, it's engineers in a blistering engine room. Joseph Bell and his crew were the unsung heroes, ensuring the ship's power didn't go out, even as the Titanic splintered into the ocean. They couldn't leave their post until the very end, providing life-saving extra minutes for passengers to escape. It's easy to overlook their role, but without them, the lights would have gone out, elevators would have stopped, and chaos would have multiplied tenfold. Those extra minutes they provided were life-saving for many passengers scrambling for lifeboats. They couldn't abandon their goal even when the ship was splintering into the ocean. As the ship sank, the Titanic's band continued to play music to calm passengers. All of the band members perished. Ever forgotten your house keys? Annoying, right? Now imagine that minor mistake costing hundreds of lives. The Titanic had binoculars that could have potentially avoided the iceberg. But here's the kicker. They were locked away, and the key was ashore with a crew member who didn't make it on board. It's like having a fire extinguisher encased in glass, but no hammer to break it open. Locked away like a forbidden treasure, these binoculars weren't just any regular field glasses. They were high-powered lenses that could have extended human vision far into the icy horizon. The key that could have unlocked this lifeline was forgotten, stranded on dry land while the ship ventured into dangerous waters. And here's the real kicker. Imagine the guilt of that crew member, realizing he held in his pocket the tiny piece of metal that could have altered history. Imagine you're watching a suspenseful movie and you know something terrible is about to happen, but you do nothing. That's precisely what happened with the nearby ship, California. Despite seeing distressed rockets from the Titanic, its crew and captain chose ignorance over action. It's like watching a neighbor's house on fire and not calling 911, a decision they had to live with forever. Oh, the agony of a missed opportunity to do the right thing. The California was in a unique position to help. You see the problem, you have the means to address it, but you just don't. While the SS Californian was the closest ship, it was not nearby in the modern sense. It was about 19 miles, 30 kilometers, away from Titanic during its sinking. Also, when the Titanic left Southampton, it narrowly avoided a collision with the SS City of New York. Had this accident occurred, it might have prevented the later iceberg collision. If the Titanic were a sandcastle, it would be one that's being relentlessly washed away by tides. Except here, the culprits are salt corrosion and bacteria, eating the ship away like termites on wood. By 2030, this once glorious ship might just be an underwater mound of rust. The Titanic was hardly a five-star hotel. Especially for third-class passengers, hygiene was a luxury. Imagine sharing a bathroom with your entire school. Yes, the conditions were that cramped. First-class passengers had it slightly better, but still, it was a far cry from what we'd expect today. A first-class parlor suite ticket on the Titanic cost up to $4,350, equivalent to roughly $110,000 today. Even if you were a first-class passenger, don't get too excited. It wasn't exactly a spa day. Sure, you had your own bathroom, but you could only take a bath once a week. Though it was touted as the epitome of luxury, the Titanic was no five-star hotel, especially by today's standards. It was more like a lesson in adjusting expectations, a humbling reminder that even in the lap of luxury, reality was never too far away. The last lunch menu from the Titanic, saved by a first-class passenger, featured an array of dishes including corned beef, dumplings, and grilled mutton chops. Some of the wealthiest people of the era were aboard the Titanic, including John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. All three perished. The millionaire J.P. Morgan, owner of the White Star Line, had a personal suite and promenade deck on the Titanic but canceled his trip at the last minute. Tragically, there are still bodies in the Titanic wreckage, making it a grave as much as a historical site. Despite this, people have been careless, to the point of disrespect. Filmmaker James Cameron, who visited the site multiple times, never saw human remains, but the unanswered questions linger like ghosts in an old house. Imagine your home becoming a tourist attraction after a disaster, where people come and gawk, but rarely pay respects. That's the Titanic for you, a shipwreck turned underwater museum, with the chilling fact that it's also a final resting place for many. While filmmaker James Cameron didn't come across any human remains during his visits, the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. The unanswered questions about those still down there haunt the site like forgotten spirits in an old, creaky mansion. The situation raises ethical questions as haunting as the ghosts themselves. Is it right to treat the Titanic merely as an archaeological site or a treasure trove when it's also a grave? The Titanic serves as a grim reminder that even as we advance in technology and capabilities, our moral compass needs to keep up. Picture being the lone survivor in a zombie apocalypse, only to be scorned by fellow humans. That was the story of a Japanese civil servant, vilified for surviving while others didn't. It's as if society had a rulebook on how to be a proper victim, and he didn't qualify. The media, and even school textbooks, went on to label him a coward. It's as though society had some unwritten rulebook on how to properly survive a tragedy, and Hosono was penalized for not following the rules. His story is a stark reminder that sometimes, surviving isn't enough. You also have to navigate the treacherous waters of public opinion. It's a tale as old as time, where the survivor becomes the villain in a script he never wrote. Milvina Dean, the last living survivor of the Titanic, passed away in 2009 at the age of 97. She was only 2 months old during the voyage. Animals have a way of making tragedies more poignant. On the Titanic, pets were just as much passengers as humans. Yet, their stories are often overlooked. Like fading echoes, their memories remind us that tragedies have many faces, some furry and four-legged. While many people could not secure a place in the lifeboats, 2 dogs were among the Titanic survivors, a Pomeranian and a Pekingese. The Titanic also had a ship's cat named Jenny, who was brought on board to control the ship's mice population. Her fate is unknown. Titanic was equipped with lifeboats that could carry only 178 people, despite having over 2,200 passengers and crew on board. The ship was compliant with the maritime safety regulations of its time, but those regulations were sorely outdated. The Titanic will forever be remembered, but there are angles to this tragedy that continue to mystify and perplex us. What do you think of these lesser-known stories? Do you think they change your perception of the Titanic tragedy? And speaking of mysteries, what's your take on the eerie underwater photo suggesting a human figure amidst the wreckage? Now's the time to share your thoughts. Please comment below, and if you found this read enlightening, give it a thumbs up.